My name is Deirdre Kennedy and I'm the microstructure technologist at Teagasc Food Research Centre, Moorepark. We know that microscopes can be used to look at bacteria, but what about food? What's beneath the surface? I work in the National Food Imaging Centre in Teagasc Moorepark. Our research looks at the composition, formulation and processing of food and the effect that they have on the microstructure of food. We can say that all foods have a structure. This structure may be formed on different levels by a combination of the various ingredients and processes that take place when it's being made. We need to understand how processing of food creates a product structure and how ingredients and raw materials interact to form structures. For example, the same ingredients are used to make cream, where water is the continuous phase, and make butter, which is an oil continuous spread. This is because we change the structure of foods during processing. For example, even though cheese and yogurt are both fermented milk products, they have completely different colour, taste and texture. Does a wobbly set yogurt feel different in your mouth than a smooth, drinkable yogurt? Of course it does. The structure forms during the fermentation process and the texture of the food depends on how different components such as fats, proteins and carbohydrates interact with each other, as well as the water and air present in the food. These ingredients also influence the nutritional quality of the food, while the sugar content can also influence the fermentation process by the bacteria. Here at the National Food Imaging Centre in Moorepark, we use state-of-the-art microscopes to look at the structure of food up close. We can look at the various ingredients, the size of particles, how they interact with each other, and how this changes the texture and functionality of foods. We can look at the microorganisms in our fermented foods and see their size and shape, see if they're alive or dead. We have specialised equipment we can attach to various microscopes so we can watch how the food structure changes during heating, cooling or mechanical stress. This process here helps us understand the breaking process of cheese when we eat it. We have a high-speed camera that can film up to 100,000 frames per second. We use this to look at fast processes in slow motion, like tracking how a powder particle dissolves in water. We can play detective with equipment that can identify individual components such as contaminants. We can scan a food and identify all components by their chemical fingerprints. This allows us to trace contaminants, identify functional ingredients, and track where all components are located in a food, telling us so much about what our food is made up of and in what way. We even use virtual reality to look inside our foods. Did you ever think you could put your head inside a loaf of bread and see its every detail? Did you think you could walk inside a meat carcass? With the virtual reality headset and controls, we can immerse ourselves in the food and do real-life four-dimensional analysis. Instead of seeing things in 2D and 3D on screens, we can, for example, measure the air spaces in this tiny powder particle using hand controllers with clever software and Oculus headsets. This gives a really good idea of how these structures are built and help us understand how to create the perfect crunch, chew or slurp.